Hello, welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint, guys. Today we're taking a look at Replicoat and their new Repliflow technology, along with their really good glue. But first of all, roll those credits. So, we are in sunny and slightly windy Norwich. I don't want to tell you how many different side streets we had to go down to get to this place, but it was quite a few and they were quite unpleasant. But we are taking a look at what Replicoat's Repliflow resin can actually do. So I'll put a link in the video description to our original review, but that was a very small part that we were showing off. So we showed you how to mix it, we showed you some of the results, but this big guy is just a prime example of what the right prep can do for a 3D print. So before we go any further, let's take a little closer look at this guy. That's just a little bit of what you can do with the Hulk, but there's also then what you can do with chrome. So a lot of people on a lot of channels try to show you sort of what you can do with 3D printing, how you get good chrome effects. This, and I want to be clear about this is flawless. This has, I mean, at best, what it has at the moment is a bunch of my finger marks on it. So this is a different level. You would never know to look at this that this was 3D printed. I would assume that it's resin cast, but you can see underneath that it absolutely is 3D printed. This was printed on a 1mm nozzle, and my God, you cannot tell. So there's a bit of sanding that goes into doing it before you apply things, but you apply the Repliflow. So the Repliflow can be applied two ways. So there's the way that we did it, which is where you apply it from a two-part mixture and you apply it with a paintbrush, or you can do what Replicoat do here and you can spray it on with a relatively cheap sprayer. I mean, obviously Replicoat have got a very expensive sprayer, but you can use a relatively cheap sprayer to get what is, I think anyone would deem to be a car level finish to your 3D prints. So we've talked about Repliflow, which is the resin that has gone through and coated all of this to hide all of the join lines, all of the layer lines, to get that perfect finish so that when you want to do your painting, you're giving yourself the best head start. Yeah. But now, let's take a little look at the glue that they sell. And just like that, through the magic of television, we're back in the studio. So, unfortunately, whilst we were on site with Replicoat the other day, our equipment died, and we didn't realise halfway through filming. So, luckily, Replicoat gave us some of their Pla Stick. Now, what we normally use to stick our models together, so this is a girder that I have physically broken in half, right? It's what we did on the Infinite Z Ender printer. So we normally glue with an acrylocylate based super glue. So it's a miter bond glue. I've got some here for you to look at. So this is the glue that we normally use. So it's miter bond glue with an activator. So the way you normally do this is you pop your glue on one side, you spray your aerosol activator on the other, you hold them together for about 10 seconds, less than that, 5 seconds, and the activator sets the glue off. Now, normally, and for most of our models, this is absolutely fine. But over time, acrylocylate superglue becomes brittle. So any knocks, damages, or any stress on a model, and you're going to have a bad time because it's always going to break across your join lines. Now, that's a really big problem for some of the models that we do. Most of our joins we hide in paint jobs. And we hide with filler and everything else. So when you have to go back and you have to redo a bunch of that, it's really hard to do. So, so Replicoat came up with this. It's called Pla Stick. Now this is just one of the pre-production bottles, but they've actually got the bottles on the website. It is £15 for 100ml, and 100ml goes far. Now this is different. This is a chemical glue. So this effectively melts the two surfaces together. You also have a little bit more adhesion time, a little bit more curing time. So you have about sort of 10 to 15 seconds. This doesn't expand, so you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry about it expanding. However, I would say that once you apply it, pretty much kiss goodbye to your paintbrush. Pop the lid back on there, and then we will glue these two together. So we'll hold that there for a few minutes whilst this cures, or a few seconds even whilst this cures. Because this is a chemical glue and it effectively melts the two layers together, once this is together, that's it. It will not come apart. So you'll actually have more chance of separating the individual layers than you will do actually separating this particular joint, because the two sides will have melted and effectively become chemically bonded to each other rather than sticking two surfaces together with an acrylocylate. So you can see that I am actually doing this on purpose. I've offset this so that when this is set, I can put a bit of tension behind it to just show you what it's doing. So one of the other issues that you will have, we'll put this to one side whilst it's drying, just so that we can leave that there. One of the issues you have with a lot of super glues is that as they dry, they expand, which means that if you're trying to join models together and they're either two flat surfaces or you're using keys and keyholes, you can actually find that as the glue dries, it forces your print apart, which means you then have to fill and sand and fill and sand to try and hide the join line. And any detail that you had gets lost. So it's a real, this has done us very well up until now if you use it very liberally. So very sort of, you apply a fair amount of it, you put the activator in, and then when you put it together, you actually put clamps in place to hold it together. And then after that, generally speaking, it's fine. It needs a good sort of 1 to 2 minutes to cure, but you have no working time. So once you put 2 parts together and you spray the activator, that's it. Inside of 5 to 10 seconds, it's gone off. The glue has gone off, and you're not getting those parts apart without damaging something. Annoyingly, if you then wait 1 to 2 hours, you actually find you can normally tap it against something and crack the glue that will not let you pull it apart. But then you have to sand back the surface and everything else. It can be really difficult to use. But this stuff is as I said already, is a chemical glue. So it basically melts the 2 surfaces together, which means you're not going to get them apart. So this has now set. It's been given about 5 minutes to properly go off, and now that is absolutely a solid joint. Like, it is not coming apart. This is now obviously useless trash, but I just used this. So this is 2 flat surfaces. So this hasn't got any keys in it or anything else. If you dropped this into a key, I would debate that that would just, again, it just fuses like this. I mean, I'm more likely to, I'm probably not actually. I was going to say I'm more likely to actually break this part, but I don't think I am. Obviously it's a girder and it was printed at 45 degrees with a fairly high infill. So as I said, it's available on Replicoat's website, and it is £15 for 100 mil. It's about £8 for 50 mil of the super glue. So it's exactly the same price, but it's so much more effective. So as I say, you need to leave it for about 5 minutes, and then after that, you will not get those 2 parts apart. It's much better because it does give you that working time. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. So I want to really thank Replicoat for letting us come down and film at the workshop. We've got some more of their stuff coming up on test as well. I've actually got a couple of more detailed models that I'm going to use some of the Repliflow on, the resin coat. And we have also sprayed the Chevy Impala down at the studio, which you'll have seen in the earlier part of the video, and it's going to look amazing. So stay tuned for that as well. Thanks very much for joining us, guys and dolls. We'll speak to you soon.